Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for June 9th to 15th. This week I read 4 books, I watched 2 shows, I watched 2 movies, and I listened to 1 book. This is going to be my last weekly wrap-up in this spot for a few weeks because next week I'll be at my parents' house, the week after, and the week after that I'll be at my brother's house, and if I'm doing the math right, I think I'll be at my parents' house for the week after that, just before coming back here. All of that to say, I don't know what my filming setup's going to be like for the next month or so. It's gonna be an adventure. The first book I read this week was Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins. This is the first in what I hope is going to be a very long series. The second one either just came out or is coming out very soon. I believe it just came out. This book focuses on a girl who is in high school in Florida and her sister went off to the UK to study and met a prince and fell in love, and they're gonna get married. Our protagonist never wanted any of this like famous tabloid life, and yet she's now thrust into that and having to deal with the fact that her sister is now famous. And I absolutely adored this because Edinburgh is my favorite city in the entire world, and a lot of this took place either in Edinburgh or in Scotland in general, and I just want to go back immediately. I picked this up because the second in the series has to do with this prince's sister, who is a princess, that's how these things work, and she's going to get her own romance with another lady. I'm already on hold for this book at my library and I'm so excited to read it when it comes in. The writing in this book was really funny. I was actually reading it on my phone, so I was screen capping a bunch of sections and sending them to Instagram, which was a lot of fun, and I absolutely adore their father. He is hilarious. He had a top song back in like 1992 when he used to be a musician, and since then drugs and rock and roll and all of that, and now he doesn't drink anymore, he doesn't do drugs anymore, but he's just so hilarious and the main character gets a lot of her traits from him, so I just really enjoyed this book and I hope the second one is just as good. Next, for faerieathon, I read Tithe by Holly Black. I was very excited to finally get to this because I've been talking to my librarians about how I really need to read some more Holly Black. This was an interesting ride. There were 3 different breaths the main character didn't know she was holding, so there was that in there. But I always love an introduction to a fae story and a portal world, and I really enjoyed this first installment. It was about a 3.5 for me because there were some problematic elements to it. But that being said, it was published 15 years ago, so I'm sure that as the series progresses and as her books progress, they're just gonna get that much better. After that, I read The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James by Ashley Herring Blake, and oh my goodness, I would die for this child. This book is about Sunny, whose mother was an alcoholic, so gave her up to her best friend when Sunny was 4 years old, and currently needs a heart transplant. Additionally, about 6 months before we pick up on this plot, she had a breakup with her best friend. So basically, it's not the best time in Sunny's life, but after her transplant, she has a plan. Major components of that plan include finding a new best friend and finding a boy to kiss. However, she comes to realize she might not want to find a boy to kiss, but rather a girl to kiss. This book was so impactful. It dealt with so many different issues. Being a transplantee, having a best friend that you might be falling for, having an absentee mother who comes back into your life. I had all of the feels while reading this, and of course I knew I would because Ashley Herring Blake is a gift to us all. And this is a phenomenal middle grade read. My last book has a little bit of a story behind it, so I was watching Chelsea Dolling Reed's Smuttathon wrap up, and she said that she picked up this graphic novel, and just on a whim, I decided to see if it was on NetGalley because it hasn't come out yet. It was, and it was available to read immediately, so I paused her video and read this graphic novel. It's called Super Sexy Fun Times. It is about superheroes getting it on. This is definitely not safe for work. On any given page you might be seeing some genitalia. So just keep that in mind going in, but it is 5 very short, sexy scenes between these different, very consenting partners, and I adored it. There's varieties in the different type of partners, there's varieties in the different type of play they're doing, there's consent throughout, and it is absolutely beautiful. I believe this one comes out in August, so if this sounds like something you would enjoy, pick it up then. On to what I watched this week. Of course, we finished the 20th season of Survivor, and Russell did not win, so I was fine. I honestly forgot who won for a while because all that mattered was that Russell didn't win. We then started the 21st season, but because we're only 2 episodes in, I don't really remember anything. I find it takes me a while to get to know the people on the show, and then also I don't really retain Survivor knowledge very far, obviously, because I forgot who won season 20 like the same day that I watched it. I've remembered since, but also that was a little bit awkward. My roommate and I also watched the first 6 episodes of Glow, which funnily enough has a Survivor cast member in the first episode. Yes, it was John from season 38, the mayor of Slamtown, and I really hope that character comes back because I was very bummed that he was not in the second episode. This show is set in the 80s and stars Alison Brie, who I know from Community. She is a struggling actress and then gets cast in this thing called Glow, which is Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. What I'm liking the most so far is the different dynamics between the 12 different ladies that are in Glow. There are rivalries, we're getting a little bit more backstory on people, there's people that definitely don't like each other. And so far, every time I've been like, oh, that's a stereotype and that is gross, it's turned itself around and been like, of course we're doing this stereotyped character on the show that is Glow because it is a commentary on the political climate and that type of thing. So at least it knows it's being gross. And without those characters having those conversations, I would feel way weirder about enjoying this program. This week we also watched Ant-Man and the Wasp because this is one of those Marvel movies that we just never got around to. Also, watching this made Endgame make a little bit more sense because obviously things play into it at the end of this movie. So, you know, that was good. My friend Rebecca and I, who are 3 time zones and a country apart, also watched Something Great and DM'd each other over Twitter while watching it. This was a really cute millennial rom-com type of thing. Not exactly a rom-com because it deals with somebody who's just broken up with somebody they've been with for 9 years. So it's basically that day and getting over heartbreak, and what we really liked in the beginning of it was it showing how social media really affects how a breakup will go because it can constantly remind you of people who were in your life or you wish were still in your life or that type of thing. And we absolutely loved the casting and the characters because it wasn't just hetero white people. So if you're looking for something cute and fluffy, Someone Great on Netflix, definitely enjoyed it. Finally, the book I listened to this week was Feral Youth, which was edited by Shaun Hutchinson. This was written by about 10 different authors, and it was such an interesting format because it was a series of short stories of these different youth who have done these bad things in their lives to end up in kind of a juvenile detention hippie-ish center where they're supposed to like learn to get along with each other and like grow as people. And essentially all of these characters have been dropped off somewhere in the middle of the woods and have the next 3 days to walk back to their camp. And because this sounds super boring, one of them says, I have $100 for whoever tells the best story. Although I have not read it, I have to assume that this is based sort of on Canterbury Tales, which has a very similar premise. People are traveling, it's going to be a long travel, it's a storytelling competition. Obviously, I enjoyed some stories better than other stories, but what I really liked about this format was going in and out of the stories. There were some stories where you only got part 1, and then a bunch of other stories would happen in between, and a bunch of other things would happen with the youth as they were traveling through the woods. And then you would only get the end of that story later in the book, which I thought was really cool. This book had 2 different narrators, one female and one male, and I found that they did a very good job of giving the individual characters their own voices as well. So if you're looking on a twist on a short story collection, this is one I would highly recommend. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon from a different location. Bye.